Hello, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Atlantic Front. I'm incredibly excited to embark on this journey with all of you and share my lifelong passion for weather. My name is TheJakeman, and I've been an avid weather enthusiast for over 30 years. Throughout my life, I've had the opportunity to live in 10 different states and explore the diverse weather patterns across the United States, from the coastal regions to the heartland, and have witnessed the power and beauty of weather phenomenon firsthand. And although I haven't had the chance to personally experience the weather in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, or Alaska, I've traveled extensively throughout the rest of the country, as well as to Europe, Mexico, and the surrounding islands. And this has given me a broader perspective on weather systems and their global interconnectedness. My passion for weather begins at a young age, as I spent countless hours mapping and tracking hurricanes and thunderstorms with my beloved grandfather. And those early experiences ignited a lifelong fascination that continues to drive my enthusiasm for meteorology. And as a weather enthusiast, it's crucial to stay informed about current weather conditions and any active weather events across the United States. So let's take a look at the overall review for the United States. And of course, that means we have to dive deep into Milton. So currently we have pretty much a Category 1 storm, and that was coming together, I think, a lot faster than we anticipated. So right around, I'd say, I guess about 2.5 hours ago, we got the latest update, and the update being that this Milton is a Category 1 storm. And the storm is not necessarily as big as Helene was, and we'll go into that here in a moment, but the way it's coming together, and you can see some of the convection, and you're seeing the build, and you're seeing the hyper accelerations happening in the Bay of Campeche, right in the Gulf of Mexico. So this is Texas, and this is Florida. Florida is starting to feel all of this. So as you can see, we have Category 1 storm. The models are looking like the cone looks like this. I'd say the spaghetti models are starting to kind of come up, and here's where the center is. Of course, I use that red, so we'll make that a little bit bigger. Therefore, that's where it's at, and it's moving like this. So if you're we're not tracking anything by any means, but it's starting to come together that it looks like the side of the storm that's going to be bad is always on the eastern side of the storm. So that would mean you'd be looking at Tampa, Bradenton, all of these areas in and around the greater Tampa area, with what looks to be a hit just out of the Big Bend in Florida. So we're looking at a hit that looks pretty much like this coming into the area as far as Milton is concerned. Comes in around there, and then pretty much is a hit in this area. So of course that can be here, that can be here, that can be here, that can be here. So it is a tremendous amount of concern for everybody. We're already seeing the bands, as you can see here, right there. So that is what we have currently with the storm. So what are we all thinking about? We're all thinking about Helene and what it did to the North Carolina. As you saw, that I'm primarily going to be talking about the Atlantic front. So from pretty much around, I would say, Louisville down all the way into Houston, and all of this area is where I am primarily going to be. That's where I'm going to be most likely in the area. And then, of course, I'm also going to take a long, hard look at these areas as well, because it does affect the Atlantic front. Okay, so these are the areas that the Atlantic front episodes are going to be primarily about, and in the Charlotte regions and around this area, also in the Atlanta area, and the entire, probably the coastline of all of this being the most, I'd say, most dangerous the areas that we see on a regular basis. So this is what the Atlantic front is going to be as far as that. So if you're wanting to be a part of that, and I hope you are, because I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, I have a tremendous amount of information, and as I get used to all of the meteorology, I'm going to enjoy this, and I hope you are as well too. So let's take a look at what the storm looks like up close on active radar. So this is where the storm is now, okay? That is where we are now, and you can already start to see some of the areas that are it's starting to show its wall, okay? So the wall is starting to do its spin like this, all right? So you're talking about a pretty good sized storm. We're looking at, I would say, right now, we don't have to guess. It is currently a Category 1 storm. So if it's a Category 1 storm currently, and we have this already involved, then we already know that about here is going to be a Category 2 storm. And then going forward, obviously, we'll get back into the map here. So as this moves forward, and it is showing a pretty good amount of clarity in that region there. So, well, let's get rid of that guy. So we're going to do this. And then it's looking like it's going to be doing this. All right. So that's where the models show a lot of uniformity. There is not a lot of spaghetti that goes out like this or like this, which would be more Helene. And it doesn't look like it's going to go towards Miami. So these are where it's going forward. And then if we take that off of it, then we have the rest of the storm and where it is pointing. Now let's take a look and see how it really starts to form. So this is around 5:20, 5:40, 5:50, right around 6:15. Okay, so you still see a good amount of quite a lot of uniformity. I would not be surprised at this point that it is a very high, a high Category 1. So I'm thinking that is probably a safe bet. Again, you can see how the eye wall is forming, and it is forming extremely well, and it's looking like it's kind of coming like this, and then it's really moving like that. So it's doing this whole thing, of course, the counterclockwise movements that it's been doing. So that's kind of what it is. So, but, as you can see, the swirl kind of comes around like that, and you're getting a lot of warm water. I cannot tell you how much warm water here. This is probably 92 here. This is probably, I'd say, 94 out here. So if you're a storm that wants to start to eat and gain strength, aiming this way towards the the Florida Big Bend area and Tampa area, you're going to get a lot of good. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing gets a little bit, as it comes together. There's obviously, these are the areas where it's kind of coming through, but as the storm continues to move forward, then you start to kind of take a look and see, all right, well, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? So with these models that we're going to jump into the GFS, and thank you for Tropical Tidbits. This is some of the best stuff that you can get here, really. It really is amazing stuff. So if you are a weather enthusiast, I recommend you do this. So down here we have a 988. It looks like around a 988 here. So we're talking about a 988 already in the zone of a Category 1 hurricane. So this is today. This is right now. This is the most recent update here. So we're going to take a look and see the movement here. So we go from 988 to 974. It looks like it takes just a slight little dip there, and once it takes that slight little dip, it picks up some more steam here, I'd say. So it kind of looks like it's going to go and move forward. Go out almost into So you stop it right here. It kind of looks like it's going to take this turn like this way. Kind of takes like it's going to do this, or maybe even just like this towards Miami. That's what it looks like. But then there's enough there's enough areas here that are going to say this high pressure here is actually a steering, so you can actually see how it is steering and pushing this thing out here like that. So when you have a steering mechanism like this ends up saving us, but it also sends it into Florida. So then we go into moving forward even farther, and this would be Tuesday, and this is Monday. So Monday at 9:64, it's still over the Bay of Campeche, and then on Tuesday early morning, it looks like it's just over the Yucatan. There's already hurricane warnings, hurricane watches in that. So, and we also have a 953 millibar in that zone right there. And then it goes all the way down to the 949. Now, when I was looking at this last night, the worst I saw this get was in the 960s. So this thing is really starting to get a little bit, put together here. So already we now have a let's see here. We've got a 949, and that's a 949 millibar, and that is in the range of a Category 3, high Category 2, or low Category 3 hurricane in this area right here on Wednesday. So if you're thinking about anything and like keeping, I'd say the majority of most of your decisions that are made, you can't make any decisions with these plots. You're going to listen to your authorities, and if Florida says get out of Dodge, it's time to get out of Dodge. So the next piece that starts to move forward is so Wednesday, and it's not a fast mover here by any stretch because it is Sunday. So we have a 949, 949. And it looks like the feeling is coming through here, and it goes up to 951. So I'm thinking probably, I'd say landfall in and around the Big Bend in just north of Tampa, maybe Cedar areas, Cedar Keys, that type of thing. So at a 958, which is a strong Category 3 hurricane, so you're looking at a strong Category 3 hurricane in the way that I look at these things, and I've been looking at these things forever. So we're talking about a 958, and again, this was what the best is what I thought it was going to be last night. So it's really, really, the pressure is really going down here. So this was nowhere near. I thought what was the worst was going to be was about a 988. And I did all of my metrics, and I did everything like that, trying to think about what was the 988. So we're talking about a 988 would be a strong Cat 2, maybe a light 3. But this one, a 958, you're talking about a Cat 3, almost a small 4 as far as the catastrophic damages that it could do. So right on the heels, of course, of Helene, and then we had another hurricane early in the year. I'll have to look up what the name was, and it's all around this area like Perry, Florida. Again, this is really where it's kind of coming in here, probably most likely as a Cat 3. Not a direct impact as far as this is concerned, but you're talking about an area that is already kind of seen so much, that is already oversaturated, already, a lot of wind damage. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what the wind damage is going to be. All right, everyone. So now we're kind of and if you can hit the like and subscribe button, that would be great. I always forget to do that, but I'm at JD Media Hub. Let's go ahead and, like and subscribe so I can keep giving you this kind of content. I love doing it. I'm really going to do it no matter what, but it would be nice if you subscribed as well. So we were going to go ahead and take a look and see what a Category 3 and Category 4 are. I think everyone takes it for granted that if, as long as it's not something that's in this category thing, really, I want you guys to understand that these areas here, okay, category 2, 3, and 4. I mean, look at the max winds, 110, category 3, all the way to 129. I think Helene came at 125. So I'm thinking in between a 3 and a 4 for Milton. So that being the case, that's a lot of wind that they're going to be dealing with. And with, of course, you have a lot of wind to deal with. Well, we also have a tremendous amount of precipitation as well. So if you have these if you have these levels, okay, you can kind of see how the cone is looking like this. All right, and that's probably the biggest representative that I want you guys to see, is a representative of how big this thing can be. But also, it is going to stay relatively concise. So it looks like it's going to be coming in. This model looks like more, this is going to be, South Tampa. I'd say it's probably eking forward. It's eking, higher, but again, the same principles. I would say that the Charlotte area and Atlanta area are going to see some of this, but not as much because of the steering that is going to be happening here. We'll talk about that here in a moment. So, it looks like Florida could get as much as 4 or 5 inches of rain. Sometimes you're looking at some of these browns where it's 7s, a couple of the 10s out there. I see the little yellow marks there. Those are 10s. I don't see a lot of the pink, so that's good. So I think that means it's mostly going to just kind of cruise over Florida. And here we go with the cone. So the cone really is something that is, I'd say probably the majority, because it takes all of your spaghetti plots, spaghetti models, and puts them all into a more of a concise form. And as you can see, there's a lot. We're going to take a look at the spaghettis here in a moment. Let's go ahead and take a look at that right there. So, we've got a 998 here, and then it kind of comes into the 977. This is from last night from the millibars, and it's dropped a lot more already just since this came through. And when I was putting this all together around midnight, and it's only 5, so we're talking, a little less than 16 hours, and this thing has already exploded. So it does take a little jog down towards the Yucatan, and it kind of comes back into this. So you're talking about, Monday, and then Tuesday, and then Wednesday. So you're coming through these areas like this, all right, and it kind of jags back in there. A couple of these are a little concerning because I'm waiting for the next real spaghettis to come out, because stuff that comes up like this, that looks a little bit like the first storm that came through, but put the mountains on the okay side, and then Helene came up like this and then put us on the dirty side, which is where you're seeing all of the destruction and everything. You're also seeing the I'd say the majority of uniformity that's starting to come in, and it looks like the AVNI came in, and it looks like that one's the one that seems to be the one that's coming together for everybody. That one's the one. So it looks like this. There's an HWFI that kind of comes through like that, all right? And we're going to take another look at that one. So here we have the spaghetti plots that look like it's coming in from a standpoint of which direction they're going to be. We also have the ability to take a look and see exactly what the category 4s are. So we're talking about, category 4s being around in these knots. I'm not going to get into the nautical types of things, but the plots are looking pretty uniform. As you can see, they're kind of moving this way. I wanted to show this one. Now, I know this is a little bit more, concise, but this is that one. There's a couple of models that have it skirting the East Coast. But as you see, this is a more accurate version of this. So I'd say this is where it's coming in now, more towards the, more towards the, North Clearwater kind of, just west of Ocala and, the Cedar Key area, and kind of in between that. So the Cedar Key area might be not necessarily ground zero, but on the other side. And then you see this Hudson and Bayonet Point, all these areas just north of Tampa look to be in that dirty side of the storm, Clearwater area. And that's always so difficult to really think about because of the bay itself. So St. Pete and then Tampa, but all this. So, we've seen waters that's come through hurricanes come through and pull the water straight out. So, I wanted to show you that for sure. So this whole area is, obviously the Gulf. So it's coming in like this. So the GFS is going to be taking it like this. So it stays and then turns into about a Category 3, Category 4 for a moment, and then it kind of dumps back into Category 3 zone, right like that. Other models that are here, and they are pretty much showing the same relatively. So this thing turns into a hurricane, and in the 976, 971, and it kind of loses itself a little bit. So it's maybe a Category 2, 3, which is good. So not all the models are saying this thing's going to be a monster. And then you go into the other models here, and the NavGem. And so this one's staying at, so this one, it really hyper intensifies 950, so it goes 970, 967. So maybe a light category, high Category 2, Category 3, and the real problem is that this thing is Wednesday, Thursday. Look at that, guys. Thursday. That's a lot of rain that's sitting over top of this, and it's still putting stuff out there, and that's Thursday. So Thursday could be just really fun for Florida, and that doesn't look lovely. So the GFS seems to be the one that is showing that this is going to be a large, big, so again, the GFS moves. So what is it going to do for the Atlantic front? That's what this channel's called. So the Atlantic front is sitting in this area here. So we're going to go ahead and the GFS here, and it is saying that there are things that we're going to do. So we're going to put up some models here, but the GFS is running like this. So as it's moving forward, look at that, it goes back out over the water. All right. So it goes back over the water. So it kind of takes this, and again, this is not that far off, folks. This is like Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and it's already Sunday night. So we're already looking like it's going to come in like that, hit just south of the Big Bend, maybe North Tampa, Cedar Key, into those whole areas, maybe grazing Tallahassee, coming through, and then sitting in, and then just kind of setting up camp here, right in there like that. So and there's a lot of different runs that this. So of course, we're still in the Thursday zone. So, we're not talking about a tremendous amount of or discrepancy of time here. So, we're going to go ahead and do a blue line here, and the blue line being right in here. So it looks like it's going to kind of come through and, it sit here and then really kind of move out like this and then do something like this. So watch what happens. So it kind of keeps moving like that, and then it disperses. All right, and then it just goes off, and then look what happens down at the bottom there. So out there in right around about Wednesday the 15th, there's other models that are showing things that look like they could be coming out where Helene came in. So if you look at that whole area, and that's the fun part of this. So let's take a look at that for the foreseeable future here. So here's going into the foreseeable future. So Tuesday, so about a week and 2 days, the GFS is looking at a different entire hurricane. So we're going to watch this whole thing unfold here, going back to Milton. All right. So this is Wednesday of October 9th. So we have about category 4 per the GFS. Category 4 ends up coming through here. Again, it settles down in this area here, all right? And then it disperses about, I'd say, over Friday. But the energy, so you can see all these lows out here. You see, you've got a lot of stuff going on over here. Our friend Milton, you have the remnants of Kirk, you have another invest, looks like a fish storm, and then this probably is going to be a fish storm. So you have 5 separate entities out there that are really trying to make some kind of a play in the late zones here. So we're going to see I'm looking at the new updates here coming in. So a lot of information coming in, guys. So obviously stay with your YouTubes, stay with the national forecast, stay with everything like this to kind of see what's going on, all this. So, but I did want to do the run for you, because what happens is that all of these guys tend to look like they're going to just explode a little bit. And then look what happens down there in this area. I want you guys to kind of keep your eyes peeled for this area right here. All right, this area right in here, right in this zone here. Okay, guess who formed right here? That's Helene, folks. That's no good. So watch that area as the run goes through. And we're just going to keep an eye on this for you, and I'll probably do another video tomorrow for you as well. So this one comes together, and it looks like it's got about a 962 and going over Cuba. It looks like the steering is really good for a lot of different reasons. So you have the steering that's kind of pushing everything down like this. You can see the lines. So the push models are pushing that down there. So it looks like it's going to kind of skirt a little bit. So once it starts skirting, then you start getting into the, I guess, more uniformity within the models. So let's see how this runs. So then it kind of goes through looks like 970 millibars. Can't tell, is that 957? 957 just off of Miami. Now, we're talking about, at this point, Wednesday, so a week and 3 days away. So this thing could very well take tracks. And I'm not here to scare anybody. I'm just here because, honestly, I've been doing this for so long, and I haven't been showing anybody all this stuff, and I've been so good. And honestly, I'm sick about the whole Helene deal, and I want people to understand how dangerous these things can get. So this has the ability to run like this. All right, it looks like that. But I guarantee you the spaghettis will start to do things like this. All right, and again, it's going to come together like that. But, who knows what they're going to look like. Yeah, a lot of these are going like this. A lot of them going like this. All right. So, and I'm super happy about that. So it looks like it's going to do this, and then, primarily just look like it's going to hit right in there on the southern tip of Florida, and Florida doesn't really need that. But again, we're just going to watch that, and we're going to keep it in our minds, and we're going to make sure that we are taking these as serious as possible. So I hope you've enjoyed episode 1 of the Atlantic Front with TheJakeman. So come back, hit that like and subscribe button. I am excited about bringing this to you. I'm going to get better, I promise. There's enough of I'm trying to think while I'm doing this as well to give you the most information as possible. So as I come coordinated, as I kind of come through this whole thing, we'll also start to take a look at some of these, how the air is compressed, how convection, the height, we'll start taking a look at that. We'll also look at thermodynamics. I'm just going to kind of dump my knowledge out towards you guys, and I really do appreciate you guys hanging into the end, and I look forward to seeing you in the very near future.